Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Cross, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Southern California. I'm also the founder of the Catholic Therapy Center, which is a group practice of Catholic clinicians striving to provide a holistic Catholic approach to healing the human person through the power of the Holy Spirit. So that is our mission. I'm so grateful and blessed to be a part of a team of all Catholic therapists who are really looking to walk with people on their journeys of healing from the heart of the church, from the heart of our faith, faithful to just our understanding of who we are as God's beloved sons and daughters. So if you're interested in checking out the CatholicTherapyCenter.com, you'll find resources, blog posts, other videos. You can get in touch with our therapists available there, and other things we're offering, as even retreats and courses and things like that. But today, I really want to talk about certainty and the role of uncertainty when we are looking at OCD and scrupulosity. Something that comes up a lot with my clients who are really struggling with scrupulosity and OCD is that desire for certainty. And usually that comes with compulsive checking, right? When someone is struggling with OCD, there's usually an obsessive factor of fear where they might be ruminating, checking, and thinking nonstop, or even kind of asking questions about some aspect of their life. Maybe it's, was that a sin? Was that a sin? Did I cross a line, right? Did I cross a line? Dissecting it, playing back memories, trying to check and make sure that they are okay, right? Or it could even be, I'm trying to make sure that this thing in my life isn't actually bad. Right. And so now I'm researching, is this interest of mine evil? Is it okay to like these certain things in my life? So there can be a lot of checking. There can be a lot of searching. There can be contacting priests. There could be going to confession, compulsively checking these things. And the theme within this really is certainty. Because if there's certainty, I know there's control. I know, therefore, I'm okay. And I'm okay with God, and maybe I know that I'm not in a state of mortal sin. Right? We all want to not be in a state of mortal sin, but the problem with that is that we can't always know. We can't always be certain. And that doesn't mean that we throw logic out the window and say, I can never know. But specific to anyone struggling with scrupulosity and OCD, there can be so much doubt. There can be so much questioning of your own thoughts, your own experiences, that it can really confuse this sense of what do I know and what do I not know. And that can be really hard. And part of healing OCD and scrupulosity, and very common amongst ERPT, exposure response prevention therapy, is this sense of sitting in the unknown, sitting in the discomfort, actually trying to build a resilience, a strength to being uncomfortable. It's like, I have my logic. I know what the church teaches. I know what makes sense, but I still feel like maybe I might be in sin, or I'm just afraid that I might be in sin. And so it's not throwing any of the logic out the window, but it's recognizing that that feeling might be there still. And I can check in with the feeling. I can understand where it's coming from. I can understand what I'm afraid of. I can understand what that part of me is needing and what love it's needing, what compassion it's needing. But I can still make decisions not just based on that feeling. And that's going to involve sitting in that discomfort often, right? And it doesn't mean you don't have tools, but being able to say and simply move from a mindset of, I did something wrong, I sinned, to I'm not sure, I'm not certain that I crossed that line. And again, I don't say this to just anybody. This is very specific to anyone who's struggling with scrupulosity and OCD, right? If you're not struggling with scrupulosity and OCD, this is not sound moral advice, right? Spiritual advice. But if you are really struggling with this, you can probably resonate with this fact of, I really feel guilty. I really feel bad, even if my logic or these other parts of me are saying that doesn't add up, right? So we can slow down into this sense of, I just don't know. If you find yourself obsessing, ruminating on a certain question, a topic, trying to check, trying to reassure yourself? Can we slow down and say, I don't know. I'm not certain. That God sees you in that uncertainty. And even more important, God sees you in that struggle of OCD, of scrupulosity, of anxiety. God is not forgetting that. He's not forgetting where your heart is. He's not forgetting how hard you're trying. He sees that. He's understanding of that. He wants to help you to find peace, even if you don't know. And this also goes back to the church's requirements of what a mortal sin is, right? And we can lean on, again, the wealth of wisdom and teaching guidance from the church, where the church is saying that for something to be mortal sin, we have to have full knowledge, right? We have to freely consent to it. It has to be grave in nature, right? And so we can still keep these in mind, right? Without kind of obsessively checking, like I've mentioned in other videos, we can schedule time to do an examination of conscience. We can limit that before we want to go to confession, or to even assess if we need to go to confession. We can block out that time and say, hey, I'm going to take 5-10 minutes to do an examination of conscience on Thursday at 4 p.m. And so if I find myself thinking about, was that a sin? Was this a sin? Was that before Thursday at 4 p.m., we can bring ourselves back to the present. We can ground ourselves. We can breathe. We can be here in the present with God. We can say, I want to make a good confession. I want to examine my conscience. And I will do that at Thursday at 4 p.m. or whenever, right? You schedule that out intentionally. Knowing that that's there is also going to give you more permission to be present, right? Again, that can be uncomfortable, but can I sit in the present? Can I sit in the discomfort? And again, if something feels certain that this is sinful, even though my logic is telling me it wasn't grave matter, or first of all, I'm questioning it. So did I have full knowledge? Did I consent to something bad, right? So these three elements might not be present. We can still consider that. That certainty isn't there. So part of any exposure that even might happen in therapy is just recognizing that I don't always have certainty. And even telling yourself in a particular situation where you're trying to reassure or check, I am not certain. And even just noticing what it's like to say that, to think that, noticing where you carry that in your body, right? Is there tension in your chest, or do you have a headache, right? Noticing what emotions come up with thinking, I'm not certain. Noticing that fear, that maybe the frustration. Can we notice that? Can we build a tolerance with that? And then when it's appropriate, can we go deeper, right? Can we take that to therapy? Can we journal that out? What makes it so hard to be certain? Or what's so scary about not being certain? Can we look at why it's scary to not feel in control and where that comes from? And I think just that gentle reminder too, that you don't have to do any of this alone. And especially if you're struggling with scrupulosity and OCD, God is putting people in your life to help you with this. That you don't have to navigate these muddy waters or these confusing areas alone, because it can get so confusing. And so you are given support, whether that's friends, family, a therapist, your priest, spiritual director, youth minister, whoever it may be, to help guide you, help slow you down, and look at ways that you might be checking and reassuring for certainty, and how to step out of that. Yeah, sometimes into the discomfort, the distress of saying, I don't know, amidst all my checking, and to step further in with faith amidst the distress, right? Not in its absence, but amidst the distress, to step further in faith and say, okay, Lord, I'm stepping closer to your mercy, even if I don't feel it right now. And again, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do any of this alone. So I hope something in there helps. We're called to, at times, face not being 100% certain, especially if this is a cross you're carrying with scrupulosity. It could be so hard, right? But we don't have to always know with certainty. We're trusting in the Lord, and we also don't have to do this alone. So let me know if there's anything in this that stands out to you. If you have any questions about this, and again, this is very specific to struggling with scrupulosity and OCD, because there is so much we can know. But amidst that rumination and obsession, what is hard to sit with this lack of certainty with? And how do we care for ourselves in the midst of that, right, when we don't know? So feel free to leave any comments, questions below, video suggestions. If this is speaking to you and you're like, I want to hear more about this, or I have more questions on this, feel free to leave that in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.